Good afternoon. Yesterday, the 27th of May, I ran my most recent edition of my homebrew Underdark. Well, it's actually not Underdark, but it's Undead campaign at Next Switch Games. Thanks again for Next Switch Games for allowing me to host my game there. Joe David Cox, Edwin Anderson, and Marina Andersons were the players. It was an interesting adventure. I had two encounters prepped for them, an opportunity for them to also role play. However, through the ingenuity of the characters, they were able to avoid combat on the first encounter and while destroying the monster, and at the same time on the second encounter, they were able to avoid it entirely and get out of there, uh, which was very very interesting when that happened. Joe David Cox received my first ever inspiration for his character Serial, who used her highest level spell slot to turn the water of a fast moving stream, underground stream, and to use that water to hit a corpse swarm, or a corpse mound. Basically, 152 zombies melded together into one. That occasionally, when they're chasing someone, can drop zombies to chase after them and give them more area to do. It's an awesome little monster. 197 hit points, and they were able to take care of it simply by Serial being able to cast control water and capture the corpse mound and the loose zombies in that mound of water that she moved, and then bring it back and drop it into the end point of the underground stream, which was a humongous high-speed whirlpool that pretty much ripped the zombie corpse mound into bits and the corpses to bits, and away they went. Before this happened, they actually found the burial site of the dwarves from the mine, and what they actually found was this huge mass grave, or an area that was covered actually in loose dirt and everything else that had piled on during the years, where the dwarves seemed to have been ground like in a meat grinder, armor and all, by something or someone. The unknown. They didn't have anything in their background to give an idea of what it was. Uh, After this was done, they entered the mines, not the mine, the caverns, went for about 2 mile distance into it, recovered some things here and there, had a encounter with the often lamented Sniv, the Cobalt rogue that was with the group, who accused them of being thieves, basically because Ed Anderson's Kenku now sports a particular um, item from Pathfinder that I gave gave Sniv, which is a little tiny piece of jewelry that has a tiny grappling hook on one end and a chain on the other that makes a really fancy double earring thing. But at the same time, since he has no ears, he's just wearing it on his clothing, his lapel. Basically, it forms an actual grappling hook and 100 feet of chain that he can summon. And it is a tunable item, so he has to tune to it. Now, the funny part was that Sniv tried to take over, as a ghost will do, but Ed rolled so high that he could not control it. Shame on you, Russell, for building characters with a really lousy wisdom, because that's what you needed to fight it off. And although the king, who didn't have really high wisdom, had enough with the roll to successfully avoid being taken over by the ghosts. Later on, they ran into another couple of undead, three to be exact, two ghost knights from the Tome of Beasts, as well as a skeletal swarm, again from the Tome of Beasts. They used the magic carpet to avoid combat, although they did have to fight. And let's see, they turned undead to begin with, turning all three of them. They all three failed. They all three failed. They were all high enough where they couldn't be destroyed. They were like CR 4 and 5, and none of them were high enough to do anything more than a CR 1 creature. But they were able to turn them and make them back away in fear, and then begin the airlift out, since there was a total of 5 characters to pull out, and not 5 characters, and it took 2 trips. So it was kind of interesting that one of them did successfully break out of the fear and charged back into combat in time to actually damage one of the players retreating on the second flight, but combined the 5 characters were able to pretty much butcher him in one round when they ganged up on him. And by the time the other two, the skeletal swarm and the other ghost knight, were able to make their saving throws and turn, the party was so high in the air that they could do nothing but watch and try to swipe at him. They were able to escape and now are sitting at the entrance to the final stop on the mine where the carts took them to before they entered the caverns themselves, as they start to retrace their steps back. I told the group, that I wasn't going to be running a game this week coming up because I have other obligations. And then with Ed and Maureen's comments that they would not be able to be back the week after that, the next 2 weeks after that, I've decided to take a 3-week hiatus from running any games. And I will be returning the 4th weekend in June, I believe. I forget. I don't know the date yet. I'm not going to look at the calendar. I'm taking the time off completely. But at that point in time, I will return, and we will have another episode of this last one. Basically, really should be called the Under the Caverns Under the Mines of Mooria. That's all I have for you today. Like, share, and subscribe. Let me know what you think of this new video format that I have here for it. And I'll see you when I see you. Take care.